without a doubt, the potential game of the year. It's one that everybody has had circled on the calendar. Texas won the last meeting between these two teams in the Sugar Bowl. Wonder if Uga has any revenge on his mind after Bebo nearly killed him on the New Orleans sidelines. Weird stuff happens in that town, I tell you what. But number 5, Georgia, seemingly has some cracks in the foundation, guys. And as we look at this game, I came away thinking, no one wears the crown forever. And it's becoming apparent that that death grip that we thought Kirby Smart had on the sport, had on recruiting, had on the win column may be more temporary than we originally thought. Texas is a 3.5-point favorite as the line stands right now. Where do you guys net out on this? I guess, Garrett, let's go with you first.
Yeah, for me right now, I'm taking Georgia plus the 3.5. I don't know that they necessarily win, but I'm going to go ahead and pick them too. But the 3.5 for me is the first place where I just want to say, I don't think that they lose by that much. I think this game is going to be close either way. I don't think that there's really a situation where one team really blows the other team out. You could see, I guess, a late pull away type of thing where maybe at the end of the game, if it's close and one team scores to put it out of reach, I guess that could happen. But I think of all the outcomes, it's most likely that this thing's coming down to a long field goal. And for me, a lot of this has to do with where Georgia is and where Texas is as a program. So where Georgia is right now, they're in a spot where they cannot lose another game, or for all intents and purposes, they are out of the SEC race and probably on the outside looking in for the playoff, needing a lot of things to drop their way. I think that's something that they know and realize. I don't think that a lot of them are saying, oh, well, if we make 10-2, we're for sure going to make the playoff. They might like to think so, and there's probably a scenario where a 10-2 Georgia team does make the playoff, but they would much rather have that in their control. They'd much rather be playing a game in Atlanta at the end of the year for a chance at a bye and to be able to do that. So I think that's where Georgia is right now. And based on the type of team, the type of coaching they have, I think they're going to be able to get up for this one and show up, as well as the fact that I'm really impressed with where Carson Beck has been the last couple of weeks. I think he's played a whole lot better. And I know that he's not necessarily a world beater. I know he was just playing Mississippi State, but I mean, he's put up some big numbers recently in that game against Alabama and that game against Mississippi State, put up some big totals. At the end of the day, I'm still not really sure where Texas is. I think Texas is in a similar place to Ohio State last week. They've kind of played like half of a test, right? Ohio State had played Iowa with a good defense and taking care of business. And, last week Texas played Oklahoma with a good defense and kind of an okay, sort of situation there. But I don't think that Texas is in a spot right now where they've faced a real test. And now they have to play one of the probably better teams in the country. And so this is kind of where, for me, I look at this and I say, Georgia's on the ropes. Georgia's got to get it. They have to win this game. And Texas is going to learn a lot about themselves. If there's one place I think this becomes an issue for Texas, it's with the slow starts. Texas has started a little bit slower. Texas hasn't quite gotten out of their blocks and gotten off to the races quite as quick as we might have hoped they would. Started slow against Mississippi State. That game was pretty close towards the end of that game. And a reminder that I know the halftime score for Texas looked really good. If you rewind to about the 2-3 minute mark of that game, that was still a pretty close game going into the half. And so, it's not to take away anything that they've done. They've looked really good against who they played. So did Ohio State. And then they lost because they finally played a team that was really good and really quality. And that was the issue. Right now, maybe home field factors in and Texas finds a way to win. For me right now, it's too close for me to call with any sort of certainty. So I'm going to take Georgia plus the points because I want both of those outcomes as opposed to Texas covering.
Is it crazy for me to just oversimplify this and say, in my mind, anytime I can get Georgia and the points, I'm still going to take that, because that's where I'm at in my headspace. When I'm thinking about Georgia, I think their demise has been overblown a little bit. Listen, the Texas runs away with it is totally on the table here. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's impossible that Texas doesn't run away with this. I think that is a conceivable outcome. But Gary, I'm glad you brought up that Texas really hasn't been tested yet, because I feel like the national narrative on this, you're actually the first person I've actually heard take Georgia in all the podcast previews I've already listened to this week. And I am going to follow up with that. I'm going to take Georgia plus the points. Number one, because I can get Georgia plus the points. That just seems like something I should do until proven otherwise, regardless of how Texas has looked. just betting on the program stability of Georgia. I know they might have seen some cracks, but listen, I think that's kind of based on Georgia getting shell-shocked in the first quarter against Alabama. If you go back and just erase the first quarter, only watch the last three, I think you walk away, and take into account what's happened since then, I think you walk away thinking that Georgia is the much better team than Alabama. And they just got shell-shocked for a quarter. You tip your hat to Kalen DeBoer, you tip your hat to the scripted plays, and you move on to the next week. Also, Kirby loves pretending to be an underdog.
He does.
And he actually is an underdog in this game. I'm fascinated to see how his team responds and how he motivates his team. But to kind of give you a little bit of a cause for pause to Texas, Garrett, to follow up what you're saying, these are the defenses, or the offenses, excuse me, that the Texas defenses face. The Texas defenses looked amazing. They've looked lights out. I think they've given up like less than 15 points per game.
36 or 38 total points.
38 total points. That's incredible. Okay. They faced the 86th, 119th, 67th, 128th, 76th, and 126th ranked total offenses. I'll ask you guys, who's the best quarterback that Texas has faced so far? Is it Owen McCown at UTSA? Is it Van Buren?
It's Van Buren.
I think it's the true freshman or redshirt freshman,
Right.
Van Buren.
The Van Buren with no
State.
tape on him, so he came out there, as a fresh new thing, which maybe is a little bit of credit to Texas, but still, like it's a freshman that you let do that.
Yeah, and again, I know the Texas fans are seething, and Mitch is going to appease them here in just a little bit, so just chill out, Texas fans. But I need to see it from Texas against a team that I know is legit. And I know Georgia has been beat down. I know that Georgia has been cast off by a lot of people nationally. I don't think that's the right move. I really don't. I need to see it from Texas. If Texas wins this week, if Texas wins, not even covers the spread, if they just win the game, hook them, baby. Like I'll be all in on Texas, and I'll think that they're legit, and I will eat my crow. But I gotta see it before I really dive in.
Gentlemen, you both make good points. You both make well-researched points. I'm gonna keep this simple. Who has the better defense? Texas, in my opinion, and statistically. Who has a better quarterback? Texas, in my opinion. Who's at home in this game? Texas. The three simplest icons that I look for in deciding who's going to win this game, in my personal rubric, all come up burnt orange.
I think defense, you gotta see the defense against the legit offense, though.
Sure.
Like that's my one pause on
the
that.
question, yeah.
So, and I think the issue that a lot of people had with Texas's defense coming into this season was going to be that front four. Could they hold their own? And oh my gosh, they've looked really good. Not just because I think the front four have been solid, but guys, the linebacking core is the best linebacking core in the country. And I will stake whatever little reputation I have on this podcast to this. If we're playing, college football, the video game, these guys are all like 90 plus speed and athleticism ratings. The way that they're able to not only drop into coverage and make a quarterback's life hell trying to get it to the tight end or try and get it out into the flat, but also the way that they defend the run. They come off the edge, they plug the A gap and get after the passer. It's been nothing short of incredible. And Pete Kwiatkowski's defense, sure, has torn up a bunch of lesser competition, but guys, that's what you want to see from a really good team, right? Take care of the lesser competition. They made Oklahoma look like a program in the Stone Age, to the point where you listen to other recaps and previews this week, guys, and we'll talk about Oklahoma in a little bit. I mean, the alarm bells should be going off for the coaching staff, bar none, because of the lack of adjustments and just the way that Texas made that squad look last week in the Red River rivalry, right? So all of that to say, I like what Texas put on the field. Moreover, I'm concerned at what the Bulldogs have put on the field when it comes to what they've got going in the trenches. Offensively, they cannot get the running game going. They're having a hard time at moments protecting Carson Beck and allowing him to look down the field. Defensively, they can't get pressure on the quarterback unless they're bringing a blitz, which then in turn would leave one of those dynamic Texas wide receivers open. For Georgia offensively, I don't know who their X factor is. I was looking through the stats this week trying to find someone that jumped off the page, someone that can take over the game other than Carson Beck stepping up like he did in that second half of the Alabama game. Guys, you're not going to find it. They have talent at every single position, but I don't know that they have a dynamic talent. And so for all of those reasons, when it was gut check time and I was just kind of forced to pick, hey, how many does Texas win by if they're going to win this game? For me, it's 2 scores. And so I'm going to take Texas minus the 3.5. If you follow College Football Insiders at all and subscribe to their advanced analytics previews, they have Texas winning this by 10. I'll kind of double down on that ante and say that they win by 14-17. I'm that confident in the speed, the physicality, and the scheme, quite frankly, of these Texas Longhorns. No doubt, the biggest challenge that they've got so far, maybe the biggest challenge that they'll face all season. But I think that I'm all in with this Texas team being the most elite team in the country.
Yeah, Mitch, one more feather in that Texas cap that I think is really a place where Texas will have the advantage is in the running back room. I wasn't really impressed with Texas's running backs going into that Red River rivalry, but let me tell you what, Trey Wisner has really turned into a good back. And I think kind of emerging, had, kind of a couple of flashes earlier in the season. And from a lot of the Texas fans I was talking to, they really wanted to see more of Trey Wisner. And so I think getting him going and, maybe helping him not fumble towards the goal line or something like that. But, if they can clean that little bit up, he should be a really good back for them. And then on the flip side, I mean, we've talked about it on the spot, but Georgia really hadn't run the ball that well. I don't think that probably gets started against Texas. That's a good front four, and I don't know that they get that started. Now, to what Trey was saying, we will see, because who knows what Texas defense really is right now. They look good. They look the part. Everything about them looks like what a defense is supposed to look like. They still really hadn't played anybody yet. So maybe they're going to make Georgia look like nobody. The reason I'm picking the dogs is because I don't think that's true. I just don't think that defense is going to make Georgia look like a nobody. I think Georgia's going to come out and, kind of gut check Texas defense for the first time all season.
And to put another point in favor of Texas, just really quickly, this is not the type of game they've struggled in historically over the last 10 years. They do not struggle to get up for the big games. They struggle to get up for the medium to lower tier games,
especially on the road. Put them on upset watch against Vandy maybe, but this isn't the one they typically drop.
Yeah, suddenly that Texas Vandy game has a little bit of juice to it.
It's going to be the fun game to watch.
Whomst have thunk that in the preseason. Texas, this is the, I think, last real landmine for them until they get to College Station. And hey, we'll see what Texas A&M is like by the 12th game in the season. Excited to get both of those teams to that rivalry game and see if there are playoff implications on the line for both of those teams. But yeah, Trey, you're right. They play up to big competition. Sometimes they play down, at least in the past, they played down to the poor competition. Georgia should get Texas's best shot in this one, and that is going to be must-watch TV.
Gracious, how about that?